You're born behind a gate that is locked every single night. By law, your family cannot own land, cannot farm, cannot leave this one cramped street after dark. You are taxed simply for existing in a city that has already decided, before you say a word, exactly how small your life is allowed to be. You have no country, no army, no title, nothing but a name, a craft, and a wall. And yet, within 2 generations, the same kings who built that gate will sit across a table from your family, asking to borrow the money they cannot raise themselves. A family forbidden to own a single field will end up owning the one thing every throne in Europe depends on. This is your life, building the most powerful bank in the world, and the secret behind it was never the gold. Level 1 begins behind the gate. Level 1 is the Judengasse, the Jewish street of Frankfurt. One long walled lane, the gates bolted at sundown, on Sundays, on every Christian holiday. A few hundred families stacked on top of each other, told exactly where they may walk and what they may wear. Your father deals in coins, and you grow up with them in your hands. Old, rare, foreign coins most people can't even read. You memorize their weight, their history, their worth, and you notice something the people around you never do. Money doesn't care about the gate. A coin stamped by an enemy still spends. Gold never asks your religion. In a world built to keep you out of everything, you've found the one language that crosses every border ever drawn. The boy in the locked street has found his weapon. Level 1, cleared. Level 2, you turn coins into trust. You become a dealer in rare coins, and you offer them to the men who collect them. Princes and nobles, the very people who rule the lands you are locked out of. One of them is among the richest royals in Europe, the ruler of Hesse. You don't just sell to him, you make yourself useful. You're precise, you're discreet, and you never ever break a confidence. When a delicate payment needs handling quietly, your name is the one that comes up, until you become the prince's money man. Here's the rule you've understood that your rivals haven't. A customer can always find another seller, but a man who is indispensable can never be replaced. So you don't chase the next sale. You make yourself impossible to do without. Level 2, cleared. Quick pause before this family quietly takes over a continent. This channel drops you inside the lives that built the modern world from the inside out. A banking dynasty tonight, a completely different life next time. We're just getting started, so every single subscriber genuinely matters more than you'd think. If you want to keep living history like this, take a second and subscribe. It's free, and it means everything. All right, back to Frankfurt. Level 3 is the move that rewrites everything, and it begins with 5 arrows. You have 5 sons, and instead of keeping them close, you do the opposite. You scatter them across the map of Europe's money. One stays in Frankfurt, the others go to Vienna, Naples, Paris, and London. The family takes a symbol, a hand gripping 5 arrows. Hold up one, and it snaps in a heartbeat. Bind 5 together, and nothing on earth can break them. This isn't sentiment. It's the most dangerous idea in finance. A banker trapped in one city can be ruined by a single war, a single border, a single king's bad mood. But a banker who is also standing in 5 capitals at once, sharing every price and every secret with his own blood, cannot be cornered. For the first time in history, one bank lives in 5 countries at the same time. The locked street has become a web across a continent. Level 3, cleared. Level 4 arrives the way every great test does, as a catastrophe. Napoleon is tearing across Europe, and his armies march on Hesse. Your most important client, the prince, has to run for his life, and he leaves behind the thing he loves most, one of the largest fortunes in Europe. He hands it to the one man he trusts to guard it, you. But hiding it isn't enough. French agents are hunting that money everywhere. So your son in London does something audacious. He doesn't just bury the fortune, he uses it, quietly growing it in British government bonds while Napoleon's men search empty vaults. When the war finally ends and the prince comes home, you hand back his fortune with the interest. He is stunned, and every royal house in Europe has just learned that the safest hands on the continent belong to the family from the locked street. Level 4, cleared. And now the secret I promised you at the start, the one that was never the gold. In a world with no telephone and no telegraph, the most valuable thing on earth isn't money, it's news, knowing what happened before anyone else does. So the family builds something no government has, its own private intelligence network. Fast couriers, fast boats, letters written in code, racing across Europe faster than any king's messenger. They learn the result of a battle, the death of a minister, the signing of a treaty, days before the men who are supposed to know it first. Because in finance, whoever knows first wins, and almost no one in history has ever known first like they did. The gold was only ever what the secret turned into, which brings us to the most famous story of all, Waterloo. The legend says that in 1815, one brother in London learned that Napoleon had lost a full day before anyone else, and used it to make a killing, buying up a fortune while the rest of the city still feared defeat. Be careful with that story. Historians believe it is heavily exaggerated, a tale that grew taller with every retelling and was later twisted by people who hated the family. But strip away the myth, and a smaller, truer thing is left standing. They really did have the fastest information in Europe, and in a moment of panic, that edge was worth more than any vault of gold. The legend is false. The advantage underneath it was very, very real. Level 5 ties the family to history itself. Britain is fighting Napoleon, but its armies are stranded across Europe with no way to be paid. Coins from one country are useless in another, and moving mountains of gold through a war zone is nearly impossible. So the British government turns to the only network on Earth that can actually do it, yours. Your sons gather the gold and move it, country by country, hand to hand, across a continent at war, until hard coin reaches the soldiers facing Napoleon himself. Sit with the irony of that. The family the old world locked behind a gate is now bankrolling the defeat of the man terrorizing all of Europe. It's one of the largest movements of money of the entire age. And it works. When the smoke clears, you aren't just rich, you're woven into the survival of nations. Level 5, cleared. Level 6, you stop lending to princes and start lending to nations. Your family turns government debt into something new, bonds that ordinary people all across Europe can buy, with the Rothschild name as the guarantee. You're no longer risking only your own gold. You're organizing the savings of an entire continent and aiming them wherever they're needed. As the century turns from gunpowder to steam, you finance the new world being built. Railways stitching countries together, mines, industry, the debts of whole empires. A government that wants to go to war or build a railroad or steady its currency learns to ask one question first: will the Rothschilds back it? A single family that 2 generations ago could not own a field now sits at the very center of European finance. Level 6, cleared. But every level costs something the ledger never shows. However rich the family becomes, the doors that matter most stay shut. The same hatred that built the gate in Frankfurt follows them into the grandest rooms in Europe. Admired for their money, still despised for who they are. And as their power grows, something uglier grows beside it. Lies, conspiracy theories, invented to explain their success with something sinister instead of skill. Poisonous myths, rooted in old anti-Semitism that say everything about the people who spread them, and nothing true about the family. Let me be plain about this. It's a story of innovation and resilience, not of secret control. Those theories are false, and they have fueled real, deadly hatred for 2 centuries. That was the true cost of climbing this high from where they began, being turned into a monster in stories that other people wrote. And here is the quiet revolution hidden inside the whole story. For 1,000 years, power in Europe meant the same 3 things: land, blood, and a crown. The Rothschilds proved something the old world never saw coming, that in the modern age, the deepest power isn't the throne at all, it's the credit the throne depends on. A family forbidden to own a single field ended up holding the one thing kings needed more than land, the flow of money itself. They didn't beat the old world by storming its gates. They made the old world come knocking on theirs. And last time, a boy behind a locked gate, sorting old coins by candlelight, in a street built to keep him small, and 3 generations later, a family whose single yes or no could help decide whether a nation went to war or built its future. 5 arrows sent to 5 cities and never broken. Not because they were handed anything, they were handed less than almost anyone, but because when the world allowed them only one tool, they learned to use it better than the people who made the rules. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Did they change the world, or did the world's hatred turn an ordinary family of bankers into a legend far bigger than the truth? Tell me what you think in the comments. Next time we step inside another impossible life, who should you become?